and what we just listened to.
Well, in many ways, it is the blueprint that was set in the Boston bombing case, where you have this outreach to the public and the dissemination of information. It was striking to me that that was essentially the purpose of the press conference, was to get that out there to the public so that anybody with information about what he looks like, his T-shirt, his cap, his shoes, his backpack, all of that is something that they're looking for leads, and that obviously is something that the public can and should do. I did want to make a reference to something that people might not know about, because there's been a lot of reporting about having found the gun. And I want to make sure people understand, in this country, it can be very, very difficult to trace a gun to a perpetrator. Unlike a car, where when you have a car, we can know from soup to nuts when it came off the lot and every single owner who had it. That is prohibited in this country. So you can have...
For guns, it's prohibited.
For guns, it is prohibited. You can figure out when the gun was manufactured, but it is very hit and miss if you can trace who has owned it. There are all sorts of loopholes. And so just having found the gun, it obviously can be useful. There can be information there. But it is not the case that there is a record in the same way that you would have for the VIN, the vehicle identification number, for a car, where you know exactly from person to person to person. So I just want to make sure people understand, because of the laws in this country, this investigation, or investigations like it, don't have necessarily the tools that you might have in other countries to do that kind of tracing.
Ken Delaney, we're continuing to run the video that was just released, which in effect was the entire purpose of this press briefing, was really just to release this video that they have been, obviously has been in their possession for quite a while. They were ready to do this apparently much earlier in the day today. Any indication of why this was delayed so long, given, as Andrew says, they wanted to get this information out to the public? They've had it for quite a while. The public could have seen this many, many, many hours ago.
That's right, Lawrence. Well, one reason was stated fairly explicitly by Utah officials hours ago, which is that they were waiting for Kash Patel, the FBI director, and Dan Bongino, his deputy, to land in the FBI jet so that they could attend this news conference, and where they didn't speak and they stood in the background. And there's also, it's a bit perplexing because they did say earlier in the day that they were going to have a briefing at around 2:45 p.m. and then they canceled that, citing rapid developments in the case, which led a lot of people to think that they were closing in on a suspect. But then you had Bo Mason, the head of the Utah Department of Public Safety, tell NBC's Morgan Chesky tonight that they have no idea. He used those words: we have no idea the identity or the location of the suspect. Don't know whether the suspect is still in the area or has fled hundreds of miles away. And you know, that's not a failure. I mean, these are difficult investigations. Andrew cited the Boston Marathon bombing. You can also think about the Luigi Mangione case. It took them 5 days to arrest Mangione, and only after help from the public, after a McDonald's worker spotted him based on a photo. And that's exactly what they're hoping for in this case. Unfortunately, the photos of his face are not terribly clear. But it just does show that despite all the video evidence they've collected, all the presumably the cell phone location evidence they've gotten, and the tips they've gotten from the public, they really don't seem to have made much progress in figuring out who this person is and where they are. I mean, when law enforcement agents start to just telling you the number of interviews they've done and how many agencies are responding, you know they don't really have very much to say of substance. And I wanted to make one other point, Lawrence, which is the governor said very clearly, the governor of Utah, that Russia and China are spreading disinformation about this situation, which they often do, as Andrew well knows, in mass shootings and other kinds of instances of controversy and mass violence in the United States. The thing that the public needs to know about that is that this Justice Department and this FBI disbanded the Foreign Influence Task Force, whose job was to try to combat that malign foreign influence and to investigate it and to counter it. They've done away with it. They're not, the U.S. government is not doing that mission anymore. in part because Donald Trump didn't like the things they did about Russia, apparently. So it's really rather remarkable to see that governor of Utah lament the fact that our foreign adversaries are trying to exploit this situation while the FBI director is standing behind him, knowing that they have done away with the task forces that whose job was to attack that problem.
Joined now by Jim Kavanaugh, former ATF special agent in charge. Jim, what did you learn in that press briefing?
Well, I think the only thing that they told us new was the head of the troopers. He showed us the video of the killer egressing the roof, dropping down, looked like he had a rifle in a bag, hustles across the green there and then starts walking across the road and then dumps the rifle in the wooded area. So we'd never seen that video. And then, of course, the still pictures, Lawrence, that are on the staircase, they're pretty good, but it seems to me, I can't tell from what they said. Is that from a video? If you have a video of that, release the video, because if you don't know who this guy is, you really need the help. Or if you have better still pictures of his face coming up that stairwell, get those out too. At this point, it's not going to hurt you to release more video and more stills. Just get it all out there. I think one thing we got to contend with, and the commanders need to contend with, this guy may not be local to, Orem, Utah. He could very well be a traveler who stalked Mr. Kirk, come from far, another state or something to do this. He doesn't have to be a local person. So he could very well have traveled to commit his assassination. So as far as the press conference to be delayed, I've seen this happen so many times. It's always delayed. The governor has to get there, or the mayor, or a senator, or somebody, and we've waited and stood for hours on end for, political leaders to get there. Now, they need to get there. I understand that. They need to be speaking because they're the leadership. But sometimes that's just the reason that those pressers are delayed. And I think it's often better to just let the police have their press conference and put out their information, and then the political leadership can have theirs. But I'd say this was delayed because of probably the director of the FBI not being there, and getting there. And he didn't speak, so I don't really know why they delayed it. They missed an opportunity, I think, to emphasize the $100,000 reward more, especially because they don't have a clue who this person is, and the person may be a traveler. So you want to reach the widest audience you can. You want to push that money out as best you can and get those photographs and videos out as much as you can. This is your opportunity while the nation is paying attention. Lawrence?
Jim, the governor did say, quote, a lot of forensic evidence is being processed. Based on what we know now, the limited information we know now, what might that evidence be?
It's going to be fingerprints, DNA from the rifle, from the towel that surrounded the rifle, probably sweat DNA. It's going to be DNA from touch on the rifle. Fingerprints, there'll be large and heavy on fingerprints on the FBI lab on the cartridges that are inside the magazine of the 30-06, the unspent cartridges that the killer probably loaded before he even wiped it down. So that's a good place to find them. So there's a lot of evidence to be found there. There's also the trace of the gun, and that may still be ongoing with ATF agents trying to run that down. The gun could have been sold retail, Lawrence, years ago, and they're trying to run it down to a purchaser. That can sometimes produce fruitful leads. There's got to be other stuff out there. There's got to be other cameras that were at the scene from citizens. I think they're missing some opportunities. Just when they showed that video, they should be saying, if this is you in the red car that's driving out right after the shooting, and you're driving out right here in this red vehicle, call us. We want to talk to you. Maybe you can tell us something. I mean, there's so many people in that video that they can, encourage to come in and tell us something. Now, maybe they've interviewed them already, but I'm just saying, reach out, enlist the support of all the citizens because they all want to be on your side. It's everybody in the police versus the assassin. And that's how you got to leverage it so you can get the information. It'll pay off. I would just close with this. They're going to catch him because there's going to be plenty of DNA, fingerprints, hair on that rifle, or they'll trace it to him. and they're going to have it. Then they may just need his identity. This is not a guy with a long criminal record, probably, and this is not some special operations guy. It doesn't take a lot of talent to do what he did. So they'll be able to catch him once they have the fingerprints, DNA. Then they just got to get the suspect. Once they match that, it'll be an arrest.
Ken Delaney, I want to pick up a point Jim just said about it doesn't take a lot of talent to do this. NBC News reporting today, according to multiple firearms experts, said the weaponry available today would allow even a novice shooter to pull off such a hit. What have you been finding on that, Ken?
Well, yeah, that's right. So this is not necessarily the work of a military trained sniper. This is something, what most experts say is this is something that anyone proficient with a rifle who's been on the range a few times, this is a shot that they could make. And this was not an assault rifle, not an AR style rifle, which we so often see in these kinds of attacks. This was a bolt action rifle. That's a more than 100-year-old design that's never been banned in this country. But yet it did devastating damage. It's just also a reminder that rifles do horrible damage to the human body. I mean, had this attack been mounted with a handgun, that shot couldn't have been made from that distance. And, Charlie Kirk had security around him. So that perhaps this attack wouldn't have been possible. With a rifle, it was possible. But again, it didn't require, according to experts, didn't require military training, just required basic proficiency, Lawrence.
Jim, what does the position of the shooter tell us? It chose a roof position with apparently what we now know is a very good line of sight, line of trajectory directly to the target. How much planning does that involve?
Well, it does involve a little bit of planning, but he can just watch, the attack on President Trump from Butler, Pennsylvania. He could know the history of Lee Harvey Oswald, snipers from elevated positions. And you're making the exact right point here, Lawrence, because when the shooter gets up onto the building and he's shooting down into the amphitheater where Mr. Kirk is, in a clear shot, no citizens in his way, he's above all their heads, and he has a 30-06 rifle with a scope. They just put the crosshairs on there. If he's laying prone and that rifle is on the parapet of the roof, that is a fixed shot, a very, very simple shot. And I would say this, he wasn't aiming for Mr. Kirk's neck. That's not where shooters aim. He was aiming for his head. He was aiming right, between the eyes. And he wasn't that accurate. It dropped about 8 inches, I believe, and hit Mr. Kirk in the neck. It's still a fatal wound because it's such a devastating round. It's a rifle you use to take down big game, deer, elk, bear. That's the rifle you use, and it creates a devastating wound, and that's what killed Mr. Kirk. So he's shooting down. When I was the assistant special agent in charge in Dallas, down the street from the school book depository, I used to go up to the museum on the 6th floor and look down. And if you've ever physically been there, you can really see what an easy, easy shot that was for Oswald, with the motorcade going 8 miles an hour. I mean, it was like shooting a duck in a barrel. It wasn't a hard shot at all. All that talk you hear about it, a hard shot, it was not. And Oswald was just a Marine who shot a rifle. He wasn't any great, he had a marksmanship badge, but he knew how to shoot a rifle. That was an easy shot. This is a similar type shot. Down in a bowl, a scope, prone, laying the rifle down. Not a hard shot to make. And he wasn't that accurate anyway. I think he dropped it about 8 inches. So I don't think we're going to find out he's any great expert when he's captured, Lawrence.
Andrew, you were nodding when Jim Kavanaugh was saying they are going to catch this suspect.
Yeah, one of the things that I sort of learned from watching these videos is that yesterday when we were talking, there was this issue about, was this somebody who was sophisticated and was going to avoid, for instance, you carrying a cell phone, was going to be really careful about their actual and their digital footprint. But you would think if somebody was really careful, they would wear just a black T-shirt. They might wear a mask. They wouldn't wear an identifiable backpack. They wouldn't have a baseball cap with an identifiable insignia on it. Those are the kinds of things that I am sure the FBI is all over, but sort of looking to see where you get those things. But it's surprising because it does bespeak somebody who is not being that careful. And so I agree with Jim that this seems like the kind of person who is going to get caught, because those are not things that you would do to be as innocuous as possible. In this day and age where you can wear a mask and not be, it's the kind of thing that, pre-COVID, it would stand out. Now it's not. And so, but he is not wearing a mask. So there are a lot of things that sort of suggest that this is not the most sophisticated person.
Joining us now from Utah is NBC News reporter Jay Gray. Jay, you were in the room during that press briefing. I had to wait most of the day for it, and it was all to get that video.
Yeah, no, Lawrence, you're absolutely right. I think one thing it speaks to, and you guys have been talking about it, is the need for the help from the public. And they wanted to get this video out. They wanted those images of the shirt and the hat you've been talking about to be on the minds of people who may have any information that may be used here. I want to show you something that's going on right now here at the campus. And we've seen people throughout the day showing up and coming to what is a small makeshift memorial. The gathering has really intensified once the sun set here. They've got balloons, they've got flowers, cards and posters, and people continuing to come into the area here and pay their respects. A couple of things we could pull from this briefing that I think was telling. Throughout the day, we've heard this person described as a person of interest, but they have changed that verbiage completely with this latest 9-minute briefing, calling this person a suspect now and the shooter as well. They talked about, again, their need for the public to help in all of this, talked about the tips. 7,000 leads are tips, the most since the Boston bombing, and 200 interviews. I think that speaks not only to the rapid pace of this investigation, but to how many officers and agents are on the ground right now. They have really dedicated everything they have, every resource to this investigation. I think it was also telling to hear the governor say that there will be an arrest here and that they have already begun the paperwork to pursue the death penalty in this case. So he's leaving no question in his mind and sharing that with this community and the rest of the nation that he believes they are going to find this shooter and that they will pursue the death penalty. I think it was also telling, and I'm not sure if you guys, I was getting back to the camera, so I'm not sure if you guys have talked about this, but Lawrence, the fact that we did not hear from the FBI director. We waited for his arrival, and many sources said that that was one of the reasons that this briefing was delayed. But we didn't hear a word from any federal agent, any one from the federal side, including the director of the FBI who made the trip here to tour the crime scene.
Jay, you didn't get a chance to ask any questions. No questions were allowed at this briefing. Have you been able... Have you been getting any information through the course of the day from any of the officials?
Here's the basics of what we've been told throughout the day, that there are multiple leads in this case and that there is no arrest. That's been the extent of what we've learned. We've been told that there are teams on the ground, 20 teams on the ground here working, and they will continue to work around the clock. But as for specifics in this, no. And I think part of that, Lawrence, is that there's a real fine line that local and state officials are walking with the federal agents that are on the ground here. And nobody wants to step on anyone's toes early in this investigation. And so I think they're being very guarded, playing this very close to the vest. And I think another reason for that, Lawrence, is because they believe they have some very solid leads here.
NBC's Jay Gray in Orem, Utah. Thank you very much for your reporting tonight, Jay. Andrew Weissman, I'm just going from my own visual memory of these kinds of events. I don't remember seeing an FBI director traveling across the country to a press briefing like this.
I do not either. There will be a time and place to examine what Kash Patel was doing and what he was saying yesterday and whether this delayed getting information out to the public. I have a lot of questions that I would ask about that. What I can do is compare it to the Boston bombing. And I'm going to not mince words. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that Robert Mueller would ever delay getting information out because he personally...
He was FBI director at the time.
Exactly. Mission number one right now in this case is to find this person. And for public safety reasons, for accountability reasons, that is mission number one. That is what is going to be animating the career people at the federal and state level. And that is what should be animating them. And nothing should be delaying that. The FBI I worked at under Director Mueller operated that way. There will be questions about that. Right now, I think the main focus should not be sort of Kash Patel and what's he doing, what's he not doing, does he have the right experience? Has he ever done an investigation like this at all? I mean, sort of what does he bring to the table? All of those are fair questions. But right now, there's a bigger issue, which is making sure that the public stays safe, that they give all leads that they have based on the information that has been disseminated, and that the FBI and the locals really can do their job.
Jim Kavanaugh, as we go forward, where is the danger here? This is someone who is at large. The possibility of geographic now of where this person is unknowable. I'm watching those students out there on the campus tonight, and there was a lockdown for some period of time yesterday. There's no lockdown now. What about the possibility of danger as this person moves through the world, wherever that is?
All right. Well, and he gets emboldened, or she. We don't really know for sure if it's a man. It looks like a man, but we can't be sure. But gets emboldened, gets away, is somewhere now watching the news, manically watching and listening to everything because they were successful. They're not caught. They've committed murder. They're an assassin. So, it's extremely important for the nation that we catch this person. That's the biggest deterrent. And the reason it's a deterrent is it's a person who wants to get away. It's hard to deter the suicidal person who does the mass shooting and goes out like a flame because they don't even care if they're going to die or not. But this is a person who wants to get away and escape. And they get emboldened and they may try something else in a month. I just wanted to say about your geofencing discussion, Lawrence, that you had with Andrew last night and tonight. When I looked at the photographs on the stairway they released of the assassin, looks to me like he has a cell phone in his right front jeans pocket. If you look at it closely, it's pretty clear in one of those shots. It looks like a cell phone. So he might very well have a cell phone.
Let's in the control room go back 2 shots right there. So, Jim, we have that shot up there now. You're saying, look at the right front pants pocket. Is that the outline of a cell phone? That's what you think you might be seeing there?
Well, it could be. It could be a cell phone. It could be a big cell phone. I mean, I don't know. It's not going to be a magazine for a 30-06 rifle or anything like that. I mean, it could be something else. But a lot of guys and gals carry their phones right there in the pocket. So, Andrew and you were making that geofence discussion. So there'll be thousands of records in geofencing records like that, and you may have to go through a tedious process of elimination to find everyone who was there, and then you find the one who wasn't there. So, but that takes time. That takes weeks, maybe, and that's not so quick. But it's just a point you guys were discussing and last night. That doesn't look like he's that sophisticated. He was able to get a shot off a place, Lawrence, that has no security, really. 6 policemen for 3,000 people. That's not any kind of, real tight security. Not that they should have had it. I'm not saying that, but it just wasn't. So he could waltz in, or she, with the rifle and take the shot. I would say this. The country, it's an inflection point here. And it's important to catch the person so we, break the cycle. And here's a place where the Attorney General or the President can make a decision to take all the FBI agents and all the ATF agents that have been assigned to ICE duties And tomorrow, relieve them of that. Relieve them of that. They've helped for these many months. They've done their assignments, but put them back on their normal assignments, because these are the two agencies that stop killers, school shooters, bombers, snipers, arsonists, terrorists. These are the two key agencies in federal law enforcement that does that. So don't pull those hundreds and thousands off now when we're at this sort of inflection point of violence, and we want to interrupt anybody who is wanting to do violence. So I think, we'd hope the Attorney General and the President could sit down and talk about that, because they have a lot of other new ICE agents and other people assigned to ICE that can conduct the mission that they've assigned there. But they've pulled off hundreds and hundreds of ATF and FBI agents to do that. And I think now we need to put them back on their normal duties so they can, help us stop violence in the country anywhere they can find it.
Ken Delaney, a technical question on geofencing. If that is a telephone, if that's a phone in that front pocket of the pants that we see in that shot, if that phone is turned off, would it still be captured in geofencing?
Lawrence, you've gone past my technical knowledge. I think there is some...
Ken, I'm getting a nod here from Andrew Weissman on this. Andrew,
okay,
go
good.
ahead.
Unless he is unusually sophisticated, the answer is it should still be pinging to cell towers.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people think that their phone, just because they turn certain pieces off, isn't doing that, and it's happening in the background. So that is something I am confident that there have been cell tower dumps that is getting all of the cell tower information from around this location. The FBI, there's 100% that is something that they have done.
Ken, as we go forward, what's coming out of Washington on this, FBI headquarters on this?
Lawrence, absolutely nothing. And that's pretty much par for the course with this FBI. I just wanted to go back to something you guys were talking about. Christopher Wray, in terms of what the FBI is doing, Christopher Wray actually did visit the scene of one of these major incidents, the Las Vegas shooting. It was about 2 months into his tenure, and we all remember that was one of the most horrific mass shootings in American history, and still to this day, we don't know the motive of that shooter. So he felt compelled to go to that scene. But other than that, no one I've talked to, and I don't think anyone here in this discussion can think of any other time where an FBI director has gone to a scene like this, because FBI directors are not agents generally, besides Louis Freeh back in the 90s, and tend to let the professionals do their jobs and get out of the way. And the last thing they want to be seen as doing is stepping on the professionals and appearing to be political. And look, that's not the way this FBI is operating. And another way that they are operating is that they don't provide information to the beat reporters who cover them. The professionals, the career public affairs people who work in Washington, if they know anything, they don't say anything. And I tend to suspect that they don't know a lot because Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have their own people around them, and they keep information very tightly held. And they have made a conscious effort to reach out to right-wing media and podcasts and other kinds of things, and to pretty much ignore the beat reporters. Thankfully, not everyone ignores us. There are people that do talk to us and tell us what's going on, but they don't always have the kind of situational awareness that the director's office would have.
Ken Delaney and Jim Kavanaugh, Andrew Weissman, thank you for joining us in this breaking news situation. We're going to take a commercial break right here. We'll be right back.
Here I am, field trip chaperone.
Before preventing migraine with Qulipta, it was hard keeping plans.
And look at me now.
You'll never truly forget migraine, but Qulipta reduces attacks, making more zero migraine days possible.
Don't take if allergic. Stop taking and get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, lip, or tongue swelling, itching, or rash. Tell your doctor about increased blood pressure or color changes, pain, or numbness in fingers or toes.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Qulipta, the forget you get migraine medicine.
He will be a sensation.
Don't miss The Last Hurrah.
Ooh, golly.
It's wonderful to be back.
On the biggest screen possible.
I like the sound of that.
Downton Abbey, the grand finale. Rated PG. Only in theaters tomorrow.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
When I was diagnosed with HIV, I didn't know who I would be.
But here I am, being me.
Keep being you and ask your healthcare provider about the #1 prescribed HIV treatment, Biktarvy.
Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in many people, whether you're 18 or 80. With one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV to help you get to undetectable and stay there, whether you're just starting or replacing your current treatment. Research shows that taking HIV treatment as prescribed and getting to and staying undetectable prevents transmitting HIV through sex. Serious side effects could occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Don't take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your healthcare provider about all the medicines and supplements you take. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding or have kidney or liver problems. If you have hepatitis B, don't stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your healthcare provider. Common side effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
No matter where life takes you, Biktarvy can go with you. Talk to your healthcare provider today.
Dry eyes still feel gritty, rough, or tired? With MyBo, eyes can feel MyBo. MyBo is the only prescription dry eye drop that forms a protective layer for the #1 cause of dry eye, too much tear evaporation. For relief, that's MyBo. Remove contact lenses before using MyBo. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. Ask your eye doctor about prescription MyBo.
Your ED could be in your head, but for too long, outdated ED meds have been obsessed with your plumbing, giving no thought to the spark that starts in your brain way before anything even twitches. That's why we made Rougiette Ready, the first ED med that works on both brain and body, with sildenafil and tadalafil to help optimize your body's natural response, and apomorphine to complement that reaction in your brain. So don't just get a reaction, get ready.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein. 30 grams protein, 1 gram sugar, and a protein blend to feed muscles up to 7 hours.
This is what joint pain looks like when you keep moving with Aleve. Just one Aleve. 12 hours of uninterrupted joint pain relief. Aleve. Also try liquid gels for fast and long-lasting pain relief.
Could you please submit your expenses today?
You could keep reminding your coworkers to submit their expenses. Or you could let Ramp do it. Never chase a receipt again. Ramp. Love finance.
I'm here with Chris Cunahan of Leaf Filter. What is the problem with a clogged gutter?
Rotten fascia, rotten soffit, mildew, mold in the attic.
So how can Leaf Filter fix this problem?
So the first thing we're going to do is professionally clean out all your gutters, realign them, install our Leaf Filter system that allows nothing but water. Just give us a call, set up an appointment. We'll come out, give you a free gutter inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
After selling my first startup, I built Picasso to simplify second home ownership. $110 million in adjusted gross profit later, we're inviting retail investors along for the ride. Picasso's investor raise is officially closing on September 18th.
At 9:51 p.m. tonight in Eastern Time in Utah, officials held a 9-minute press briefing in which no questions were allowed, in which the principal purpose was to introduce a video of what they believe to be the shooter, the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, fleeing from the scene off of the rooftop where that shooting, they believe, took place. And here is that video. The video in its entirety shows that person running across the grass and through past the parking lot and across a street into another area. And we are continue to be joined in our coverage of this, our live coverage of this, by Andrew Weissman, former FBI general counsel and MSNBC legal analyst.